Thank you all for joining us here at I-80 Sports, where today it is our NHL 2022 Mock Draft. It is time to see who is going to be picked number 1 through 32 in the first round of the NHL Draft. Thank you all for joining us here again at I-80 Sports. Thank you all for joining us here again at I-80 Sports. If you're here on YouTube and you're not subscribed, subscribe down below. Hit the bell notification for every single time that we post because we're going to be quite active during the offseason in the NHL. We're starting off with our NHL Mock Draft. Thank you all for joining us here again. Drop a like and comment down below with who you think is going number 1 overall and who you want your favorite team to draft in the first round of the NHL Draft. We might even comment down below and maybe even drop a heart or two on some comments. So join the conversation down below. We'd love to hear from you guys. And make sure that you check out our content on i80sports.com. You can check out all of our sports content, our NHL, NFL, MLS, NCAA football, NBA, and wrestling content there as well. While you're there, if you want a shirt like this, you can get this for about somewhere between $10 and $15. Maybe not baby hippo size like this one, but, get yourself a t-shirt as low as $8 over there. Hit up our shop while you're there. And if you're on Twitter, follow us down below at I80_sportsNHL. And if you follow us already, thank you guys so much for all of your support because we greatly value all of the support that we get from you guys on a daily basis and a yearly basis. I'm Brian. He's Tom. Tom, how are you doing today?
Doing well. And here we are. Draft time again. Feels like it comes quicker and quicker every year. I'm not really excited for this one just for the sheer fact that my favorite team does not have a pick in the first round. We lost our pick when we made the Eastern Conference Finals. That's what was compensated to Winnipeg in the Andrew Kopp deal. So my New York Rangers do not have a first-round pick for the first time in 6 years, believe it or not.
Crazy to really kind of think, but, there are certainly other picks to be going around and certainly a lot of teams with multiple picks this year that we are going to be going through. It's our NHL Mock Draft. So without further ado, we're going to get started with this. We're going to go 1 through 10 first. So starting off, picks numbers 1 through 10. For those that need a reference in terms of who's picking where, number 1 overall is the Montreal Canadiens. Number 2 is the New Jersey Devils. Number 3 is the Arizona Coyotes. Number 4, the Seattle Kraken. Number 5, the Philadelphia Flyers. Number 6, the Columbus Blue Jackets. That comes via a trade from the Chicago Blackhawks when the Chicago Blackhawks acquired Seth Jones. Number 7 overall goes to the Ottawa Senators. Number 8 overall, the Detroit Red Wings. I'm going to learn to speak at some point. And number 9 overall, the Buffalo Sabres. And number 10, the Anaheim Ducks. God, this feels like a very similar draft to last year in a lot of ways, but that's a different discussion for a different day. So, Tom, I'm going to let you start with the conversation here. Why don't you list off who you have going 1 through 10 in the NHL draft this year?
Okay, number 1 to Montreal, I have Shane Wright. Number 2 to your New Jersey Devils, I have Yuri Slavkovsky. I'm totally butchering the name. I'm sorry. Number 3 to the Arizona Coyotes, I have Logan Cooley. Number 4 to the Seattle Kraken, David Jiricek. Number 5 to the Philadelphia Flyers, Cutter Gauthier. Number 6 to the Columbus Blue Jackets, Matthew Savoy, who has dropped a little bit, believe it or not. I thought he'd be 2 or 3. We always were talking about that. Number 7 to the Ottawa Senators, Simon Nemec. Number 8 to the Detroit Red Wings, Marco Kasper. Number 9 to the Buffalo Sabres, Kevin Korchinski. And number 10 to the Anaheim Ducks, Frank Nazar.
So what the listeners at home and for the viewers at home, what you're going to find is Tom and I have only maybe 3 or 4 picks in the first round that line up with each other, that we were both like, yep, he's going to go there. Otherwise, we're completely different in a lot of different ways here. So that being said, here are my top 10 picks right now. And I went for a little bit more bold, a little bit more daring. So the Montreal Canadiens get the number 1 overall pick. And with the number 1 overall pick, I picked the riser of this draft, Yuri Slavkovsky, going number 1 to Montreal, which means that the New Jersey Devils get the privilege of drafting Shane Wright with the number 2 overall pick. At number 3, the Arizona Coyotes, knowing that they're going to need defense soon, knowing that they could very well be trading Jacob Chychrun either during this draft or after this draft, I have them drafting Simon Nemec. And that's just quite simply because he's the best defenseman in this draft, which means the Seattle Kraken at number 4 draft Logan Cooley. At number 5, the Philadelphia Flyers, I think, are going to be bold. They're going to take Matthew Savoie. At number 6 overall, the Columbus Blue Jackets are going to take Cutter Gauthier. The Ottawa Senators at number 7, I've got them taking David Jiricek. Number 8 to the Detroit Red Wings, I have Joaquin Kamel. Number 9, the Buffalo Sabres take Connor Geekie, who has been on a lot of people's top 10 boards. And I could see Buffalo taking him, especially because they have multiple picks. And I think he's a guy that they might like. And then finally, number 10. And can I also just piggyback on something that Tom said? We know that we could be butchering these names. You guys are allowed to laugh at home. And you can correct us down below in the comments. Be nice, though. So number 10 overall, I've got the Anaheim Ducks selecting Jonathan Lekramaki. And I know I just butchered that, so you can sound off down below how bad I just butchered that. But Tom, who's a pick in this top 10 that you really like for a given team?
You know something? I like Frank Nazar for the Anaheim Ducks. Similar path to Trevor Zegras, and if they're patient with him, you might have a nice little 1-2 punch down the middle in the future. So I'm really liking that one. It really tore me up between Nazar and Casper, determining who would go where. But I just think where Detroit is right now, they maybe want a center who they're going to have within a year, maybe not within 2 or 3. So that's why I ultimately gave Detroit Casper and ultimately gave Anaheim Nazar.
Good choices there, and honestly, really good analysis there. Honestly, with everybody that I had going to specific places, I did it for a specific reason. With Juraj Slafkovsky going number 1 to Montreal, a lot of people scoff at that and say, well, why would Slafkovsky go number 1 over Shane Wright? Simple reason, size. And Juraj Slafkovsky has that. He's 6'4", 215 pounds. He's a large mammal, to say the least. And Montreal wants a larger mammal to be able to pair with Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki, who just quite frankly are smaller forwards. They want a guy with a scoring touch who can also throw the body around when needed. Shane Wright does have that edge as well. He does throw his weight around at 6'1". He does need to put on maybe a few pounds at the NHL level if he is going to be able to throw his weight around legitimately, but he does play with tenacity. That's also why I like New Jersey taking the best overall there with Shane Wright, even though they're already set at center, but there is room for, there's movability between Jack Hughes or Shane Wright. Shane Wright might be the person that moves ultimately because I think Shane Wright could be more of a pure scorer. Other than that, the one that I would really love to see for a particular team, I would really love Seattle Kraken to be able to land Logan Cooley, because I just think that would be a perfect building block for the Seattle Kraken, who desperately needed scoring this year, and Logan Cooley gives them that. Logan Cooley, I kind of compare to Jack Hughes, being a forward who enters their opposing zone very, very well and at a very good rate, as well as he has a good scoring touch, and I want to see him play alongside Matty Beniers in the future, who the Seattle Kraken drafted last year. All right, let's keep moving on. From here, we've got picks 11 through 20 right now. And for reference on 11 through 20 here, picking 11 overall is the San Jose Sharks. Number 12 is the Columbus Blue Jackets again. Number 13 is the New York Islanders. Number 14, the Winnipeg Jets. Number 15, the Vancouver Canucks. Number 16, the Buffalo Sabres again, which they acquired from the Vegas Golden Knights in the Jack Eichel trade. Number 17 overall is the Nashville Predators. Number 18 overall, the Dallas Stars. Number 19 overall, the Minnesota Wild, which was acquired recently from the Los Angeles Kings in the Kevin Fiala trade. And number 20 overall, the Washington Capitals. So, Tom, let's hear it. Who do you have going 11 through 20 here?
Sure. Number 11 for the San Jose Sharks, I have Pavel Mintyukov. Number 12 for the Columbus Blue Jackets, Connor Geekie. Number 13 for the New York Islanders, Brad Lambert. Number 14 for the Winnipeg Jets, Noah Oslin. Number 15 for the Vancouver Canucks, Joaquin Kamel. Number 16 for the Buffalo Sabres, Jimmy Snuggerud. Number 17 for the Nashville Predators, Denton Matejchuk, I'm probably butchering that. Number 18 for the Dallas Stars, Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Number 19 for the Minnesota Wild, Isaac Howard. And number 20 for the Washington Capitals, Danila Yurov.
All really good and solid picks there, Tom. So for me, at 11, I have the San Jose Sharks picking Kevin Korchinski. Number 12 overall, I have the Columbus Blue Jackets selecting Pavel Mintyukov. Number 13 overall, Tom and I have the same pick here for one. Woo! And there is going to be a similar reason why we both have them going here, and we'll explain that after I go through 11 through 20. But I had the New York Islanders in number 13 picking Brad Lambert. Number 14, I have the Winnipeg Jets picking Marco Kasper. Number 15 overall, the Vancouver Canucks, I've got Frank Nazar. Number 16 overall, Buffalo Sabres on the board again, and I have them taking Liam Bichsel. Number 17 overall, once again, Tom and I have the same pick here with the Nashville Predators at number 17, Denton Mateychuk. Number 18 overall, Dallas Stars select Isaac Howard. Number 19 overall, the Minnesota Wild. I have them selecting Ivan Miroshnichenko, and I know I just butchered it, and I will have another chance to say that name again because I am going to mention him again. And then number 20 overall, the Washington Capitals selecting Liam Ogren. So, Tom, who do you really like 11 through 20 here? What was the pick that you had that was the most favorite for you? Or just expand on why you made these particular picks.
You know what? I like Danila Yurov a lot, believe it or not. I'm not very big on Russian players, but he's a right winger. He's over a point per game in the MHL and over a point per game in the U17 competitions he played in. And you want to know what? They still have a couple years left in DC with Ovechkin. If they can get this kid over here, if not this year, the following year, he's a right winger. That means you can play him with Ovechkin. Would he maybe be able to learn from Ovechkin? Would he maybe be able to pick up off of Ovechkin? It might be like a seamless passing of the torch if he can put it all together with him there. So you have a right winger to play with Ovechkin potentially, and I kind of like that a lot about him. The other one with Brad Lambert, we had talked about the Islanders a few weeks ago, just with the way they spend their money and their cap. It may very well be somebody you need to grow into that number one center role if he's indeed going to be a center for them, because nobody really knows if Matt Barzal is going to stick around there. You know, if they keep trending in a downward trend like they've been, there's no guarantee he's going to stay there. He may very well be like Tavares back, how many years ago was it now? 4 years ago, and say, I don't want to stay here if they're not going to be committed to winning, in which you have Brad Lambert to bring in. Kind of how they had Matt Barzal to bring in to replace Tavares. So there's just a thought that I had about that. How true it is, I don't know. We still got a lot of time with this. So just a thought in my head that ran through my head, rather.
Yeah, I completely agree on the Brad Lambert side of things. I think a lot of people are overlooking Brad Lambert at the moment, and I don't think that's necessarily fair. This is a player who, as of last year, was slated to go number 2 or number 3, even thought to maybe even go number 1 overall in this draft as early as a year ago. This is a Finnish player that has been on a lot of people's radar for a long time now. He's played at a very high level for the past couple of years. And to see him drop in favor of other forwards is surprising to me. But I do think that the Islanders would be the team to take a chance on him at as early as number 13 for a couple reasons. Number one, as Tom mentioned, you don't know the destiny of Matthew Barzal after this year, A. But then B, there's the family connection there with Brad Lambert and the New York Islanders right now. New York Islanders recently hired Lane Lambert as their head coach, and he is the uncle of Brad Lambert. So I think there is a connection there that could be made, and I think a reason why a lot of people are projecting Brad Lambert to potentially go as early as number 13 to the New York Islanders. Other than that, the other pick that I kind of need to justify here is Liam Bichsel to the Buffalo Sabres. And Liam Bichsel is going as high as 16. He's going as low as like the second round right now. It's hard to peg with him. There is a reason why a team might take a flyer on him in the first round as early as 16 in the Buffalo Sabres. And it's the same reason as Juraj Slafkovsky before, as I mentioned. It's size. Liam Bichsel is 6'5". He is a large defenseman. And historically, The Buffalo Sabres like drafting large defensemen. They drafted Rasmus Ristolainen. They drafted Tyler Myers. It's cyclical. I could very much see the Buffalo Sabres drafting Liam Bischoff on that precedence alone. The Pegula family likes to draft larger human beings. So that being said, I could easily see Liam Bischoff going to the Buffalo Sabres and maybe actually pairing very, very well in the future. It's going to take him a few years to develop. You probably won't see him in the NHL for the next 2 years at least, but he's going to be an interesting name to watch. And then obviously the other name that I'm going to mention in more detail later is Ivan Miroshnichenko. Once again, I butchered the name again. I like that for the Minnesota Wild just because it gives another forward of high caliber to go to. I wouldn't even say they're rebuild because they're a playoff team as is right now. So they're only going to continue that trend. And I think that this is a player that not enough people are talking about in this draft. And that's why I had him picked in the top 20 here. Now we're going to move on from the top 20. We're going to go picks 21 through 32. We're rounding out the first round now. And for reference, for those that need it, pick number 21 is the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pick number 22 is the Anaheim Ducks, which they acquired from Boston in the Hampus Lindholm trade earlier in the spring. Number 23 is the St. Louis Blues. Number 24, the Minnesota Wild again. Number 25, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Number 26, the Montreal Canadiens, which they acquired from Calgary in the Tyler Toffoli trade. The Arizona Coyotes are again at number 27, acquired from Carolina via Montreal. Oh, God, what was that one from? That was the Jesperi Kotkaniemi deal, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that was from the Jesperi Kotkaniemi deal. If you need more reference, look that one up. That one's a doozy. Number 28, the Buffalo Sabres, which was acquired from Florida in exchange for Sam Reinhart last year. Number 29 overall is the Edmonton Oilers. Number 30 is the Winnipeg Jets, acquired from the Rangers, as Tom mentioned earlier in the video, in the Andrew Kopp deal. That was a conditional pick that turned into a first-round pick just because of how good the New York Rangers were in the playoffs this year. The number 31 overall pick is the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the number 32 overall pick should be the Colorado Avalanche, but psych, it's the Arizona Coyotes again. And oh God, what was that trade from? Oh, I remember. No, I don't.
It was Darcy Kemper, wasn't it?
It was Darcy Kemper. Yeah, you're right. Yep.
Well, the trade won Colorado the Stanley Cup, so I can't see them complaining too much.
How is that the only one that I forgot? I remembered all the other convoluted ones, and I forgot that one. Oh my God, I forgot that. You want to know why? Because Darcy Kemper's not worth a first-round pick. I'm sorry, hot take.
Well, that's what happens when you think you're going to play hardball with your goalie, and then he signs with an expansion team the day free agency opens.
But hey, it worked out. You know, it worked out for Colorado. Colorado's riding that all the way to the bank with a dented trophy right now. So there you go. So Tom, I'm going to let you take it away here. Picks 21 through 32. First round of the NHL draft. Who do you got going where?
Okay, sure. Number 21 to the Pittsburgh Penguins, I have Nathan Goucher. Number 22 to the Anaheim Ducks, Rutger McGrody. Number 23 to the St. Louis Blues, Owen Pickering. Number 24 to the Minnesota Wild, Yuri Kulich. Number 25 to the Toronto Maple Leafs, Sam Rinzel. Number 26 to the Montreal Canadiens, Ivan Miroshnichenko. I'm butchering the name. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Number 27 to the Anaheim Ducks, Liam Ogren. I'm not the Anaheim Ducks, the Arizona Coyotes. Why did I say Anaheim Ducks?
I don't know.
Number 28 to the Buffalo Sabres, Noah Warren. Number 29 to the Edmonton Oilers, Matthias Havelid. Number 30 to the Winnipeg Jets, the pick that might have been the Ranger pick, Luca Del Belbaluz. Try saying that 4 times.
I love that name.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it to be on the back of a sweater.
Yeah. Number 31 to the Tampa Bay Lightning, Philip Massar. And number 32 to the pick that would have been to the Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche, but now belongs to the Arizona Coyotes, Jagger Firkus.
Good picks all around there. So for me, once again, we only have one that lines up here between Tom and I. We have two that line up. Sorry, my bad. But yeah, we've got two that line up here. So at number 21 overall, I have the Pittsburgh Penguins selecting Yuri Kulich. At number 22, the Anaheim Ducks. This is where Tom and I are similar here. I've got them picking Rutger McGrody as well. At number 23 overall, I've got the St. Louis Blues picking Danila Yurov. At number 24, the Minnesota Wild, I have picking Ryan Chesley. Number 25 overall, I've got the Toronto Maple Leafs picking Owen Pickering. I'll explain why that one later. The number 26 overall, the Montreal Canadiens, I've got them picking Jimmy Snuggerud. A little low here, but he's fluctuated in every single mock that I've seen. And from watching him, I think he's more of a late round pick. Number 27, I've got the Arizona Coyotes picking Philip Massar. Number 28 overall, the Buffalo Sabres picking Nathan Goucher. Number 29 overall, the Edmonton Oilers, I've got them picking Jager Furcus. Number 30, the Winnipeg Jets. This is where Tom and I are similar again, and I just love saying this name. Luca Del Beluz. I just love that name. Oh my God, it's such a great name. It's not a hockey name, but it's just a great name. Number 31 overall, I've got the Tampa Bay Lightning picking Rieger Lorenz. And at number 32 overall, the Arizona Coyotes, with the last pick of the first round, taking Matthias Havlid. So, Tom, justify a couple of your picks here. Why do you like certain picks for certain teams? What was your rationale here?
I like Ivan Miroshchenko for Montreal. Just because, you have that chance at a left winger with Slafkovsky earlier in the draft, yes. But I think if you draft Shane Wright, that can justify that left wing selection. He's a left winger. He's in Russia. He has some time to develop. And I think if he develops rightly, it could be a nice little 1-2 punch on a line with him and Shane Wright, or potentially not with him and Shane Wright. With him and Cole Caulfield, with him and Nick Suzuki, They're trying to build for the future. Jeff Gorton's a smart guy. Ran my team for a while. Was mad when he got fired. Think that he maybe should still be there. Story for another day. I also actually like for the Maple Leafs, if they do go this route, I like Sam Rinzel a lot. Toronto needs all the help they can get on D, and he seems like a solid defensive prospect, honestly. I feel that, they're going to be stuck with these four forwards for a while. It's going to be hard to move anybody, Marner, Nylander, doesn't matter. I look at Rinzel's stats, he's a American kid, yes, but you know what? He's committed to the University of Minnesota. You give him 2 solid years there. He really, really tears it up there. You can bring him into Toronto. As a Ranger fan, you look at a guy like Keandre Miller, really tore it up at Wisconsin as defenseman for 2 years. So I think Sam Rinzel could very well be the same player. Go to Minnesota, tear it up for 2 years, and then come up to the Maple Leafs. I don't know if he's a future Norris Trophy winner, but he could definitely be a solid defensive depth, whether it's second pair or third pair to start.
Yeah. All really good takes there. I mean, for me, with certain picks, where would I want to start with here? I never really realized just how defensively heavy this first round could actually be. There is no shortage of good defensemen in this first round. It's actually quite kind of astounding. Rutger McGrody is one of the people that kind of comes to mind when thinking that for Anaheim. But then beyond that, Owen Pickering potentially going to the Toronto Maple Leafs would also be really, really good as well. This is a team that's been hurting for defensive help, and it's been no secret for the past number of years. And they've had luck in drafting defensemen, Rasmus Sandin, as well as Timothy Liljegren, but Owen Pickering adds more to that over time as well, even if he's just trade bait later on. And then beyond that, I think Jimmy Snuggerud, if he drops to Montreal, would be fantastic for Montreal, who has multiple picks in this draft. And if they pick him up along with that, I think that is all the better for them. And then lastly, Matthias Havlid, if he drops to Arizona, that really rounds out a potential really solid first round for Arizona, picking up 2 defensemen on my watch here in a draft that's been heavy on defense. So now that we've done our mock 1 through 32, obviously we want to hear from you guys down below, whether you agree with our picks, whether you disagree with our picks. We want to hear what your picks are 1 through 32, or what your team wants to do in the draft. Sound off down below, drop a comment. And we want to talk a little bit about trade bait. There's been a lot of talk about teams moving out of picks, moving into picks. Tom, what are some things that you're hearing? What are some things that you think are likely to be seen? What do you want to see? What's on your mind?
You know what? I hate to say it. I could see the Devils moving that pick. I really could. Now, while I don't think Gorton's going to be crazy enough in Montreal to want numbers 1 and 2 to himself, because a lot of people said the same thing about the Rangers when he was running the show back in 2019 there, that, he should make a deal and, have Hughes and Kakko at number 1 and 2. We're never going to see that again. We saw that once with Brian Burke working his magic for the Sedin twins. I just don't see it happening this time. But what I could see happening is them trading that number 2 pick to the Blackhawks for a guy like, say, Alex DeBrincat. DeBrincat's kind of been in and out in Chicago. I know Patrick Kane and him had some problems last year. DeBrincat yelling at Kane in practice and ripping into him. DeBrincat, young kid, yes. Good player, yes. Patrick Kane's arguably the greatest American hockey player ever, number 1. And number 2, Patrick Kane has 3 Stanley Cups. DeBrincat's never even played a playoff game. So I could very well see that happen. DeBrincat coming to New Jersey for a new change of scenery. Kind of like what they did with Taylor Hall in a way. Obviously, it wasn't done at the draft. It was a Adam Larson Taylor Hall deal, but it was right before the draft. So I could see that happening. I can't see Montreal giving up so much for number 2 when next year they could still be bad enough to potentially have a chance at getting Connor Bedard or Mitchkov next year. I just can't see them really blowing it on this draft when they could still be bad enough to draft high in next year's draft, which is also projected to be pretty good. I know you talked about the Devils and options. I know Matt Tkachuk's name has been thrown around up there in Calgary, and I know that there's a chance that they might not be able to afford him and Goudreau, but Calgary just had a hell of a year. I think eventually, I'm sure they're taking calls on both, but I think eventually they're going to work it out with both. You can't just trade your 2 best players after you had one of the best seasons you've had in a long, long time. I mean, obviously in 2 years, they won a playoff round this year. I can't see the Flames blowing it up. I think that they're going to come to a agreement with both of them. I know people have mentioned David Pastrnak too, but I just can't see the Bruins getting rid of him. Even if the Bruins were looking to rebuild, looking to the future, knowing that you're going to have McAvoy and Marchand out this year, knowing that Bergeron's future is still kind of hazy because he hasn't agreed to a contract yet. I can't see you letting your best player and maybe the biggest part of your future walk, somebody who can be there when you rebuild it and, help it come along really well again. They did it just recently when you kept guys around like Bergeron and Marchand and Krejci and Chara and Rask and rebuilt the rest of the team. And once again, when the team was ready to contend again, they were all there. The Bruins have been known to do it. They kept certain players around in the 70s, guys like Jerry Cheevers and the like, and Johnny Busick, when they went from the Bobby Orr and Esposito Bruins to the Lunch Pail AC Bruins. The Bruins, yes, are known to rebuild when things are going bad, and they're known to blow it up when it's least expected. But the thing about the Boston Bruins is this. They're known to identify players who they need to keep, young players who still have some left in the tank, and Pasternak's one of them. I just don't see him moving. I just don't see him moving at this draft with the Bruins. I just don't see it.
At the end of the day, trades are inevitable in any draft, whether it's the NFL draft, whether it's the NHL draft, whether it's the NBA draft, wherever. Trades are inevitable. This is one of those first drafts in a while where you could potentially see a franchise-changing trade. Because at the top of the draft, you have Montreal and you have New Jersey. Both teams who have been making calls, and it's no secret, Montreal has actually called New Jersey about their willingness to move number 2 to them if they wanted to. And it's tough for me to imagine a scenario where Montreal lands number 2. Because if the Devils are going to trade out of the number 2 pick, they are doing so to acquire a superstar forward. General manager Tom Fitzgerald has been very vocal about saying, we need a superstar forward. They already have it in Jack Hughes. They already have the potential in that in Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt as well. This draft is very good, especially in the top 3, top 4, top 5. No matter what, the Devils are winning with the number 2 overall pick, whether it's Uri Slafkovsky, whether it's Shane Wright, whether it's Logan Cooley, whether it's Simon Nemec. The Devils win no matter what with that pick. But what would be better is if they'd move that pick for a high caliber forward. Matt Tkachuk might not be available. Sorry, Devils fans. That's the guy who I want most coming to the Devils, and I just don't see Calgary moving from him, especially if they lose Johnny Gaudreau, potentially even to the Devils. So I don't see Matthew Tkachuk getting traded. More unlikely, David Pastrnak. He is a name that has been floated around, especially now with the now that the Bruins have moved on from head coach Bruce Cassidy. There could be severed ties there as well. There's at least been speculation of that. I think David Pastrnak is still untouchable in Boston. I just don't see that happening. More likely people that the Devils could trade for, Alex DeBrincat. I don't know if I like that trade just because the Devils need more size, and DeBrincat doesn't bring you size. He is 5'7". He does bring you scoring, and he's a natural goal scorer, but he does not bring you size. Another player that has been floated around as an idea is Kyle Connor from the Winnipeg Jets. I don't know if I see the Winnipeg Jets being willing to move Kyle Connor, but hey, stranger things have happened. If Montreal was serious about acquiring a number 2 overall pick, it would take a mountain to do so from the Devils. It would mean that Montreal's coughing up their first round pick in the later half of the first round with the number 26 overall pick. It means that they're giving the Devils an unprotected first round pick next year. It also potentially means that they have to give them one of their top prospects or NHL ready forwards as well. Could mean Caden Gooley. It could mean one of Cole Caulfield or Nick Suzuki, which Montreal just flat out is not going to be willing to part with something like that in the middle of a rebuild. It would take a mountain for Montreal to get the number 2 overall pick, but this is not a situation like the Sedin brothers from 2000 and what was it, 2001 or 2000?
1999.
1999. It was all the, oh God, I'm old. Holy moly. Yikes. It was all the way back from then. But even still, this is not one of those situations. You're not trying to go out and acquire twins or anything like that, or players that have been connected for years in the same program. You have nothing of the like in the top 5 this year to do so. So Montreal is not going to be as desperate to move for the number 2 overall pick. I think they would like to, but ultimately I don't think it happens. The Devils end up drafting number 2. More than likely, if you want to see some likely trades to happen, look no further than teams with multiple first-round picks in this draft. So Montreal could very well move that to number 26 overall pick for something. You know, you could see Anaheim making a move. You could see Minnesota or trying to think of who else, Buffalo, Arizona, Columbus. These are teams that would be more willing to move picks around and see what they could get. One name to kind of watch on radar right now is Vladimir Tarasenko of the St. Louis Blues. He has not backed down from his trade request, and he is a name to follow in this draft because he is a player that could fly under the radar, could end up getting moved for something. And St. Louis probably would not mind trying to move up in the draft or trying to acquire another first-round pick in a deep first round to keep compiling picks. They're also listening to offers on Torrey Krug right now. That's another person to listen to. I think it's more unlikely for Krug to get dealt just because his contract is a little rough. So he's a person that more than likely stays in St. Louis. But all the other names that I mentioned above are free game as well, meaning Kyle Connor could be fair game. Alex DeBrincat, very much fair game in this draft. So we'll just have to see what happens. It's going to be a really exciting draft. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch, and we're just going to have to see. Before we move on, I do want to talk real quick about draft sleepers, meaning players who might be flying under the radar in this draft who could end up being, in years to come, really, really, really good draft picks for their respective teams. So, Tom, who do you see as a draft sleeper or sleepers?
You know what? I like Cutter Gauthier a lot. He's over a point per game with the National Team Development Program. He's going to Boston College. He's probably going to stay there for 2 years. But when he comes out and wherever he goes, some team's going to be very, very happy with him. I think he's going to be a very good player when he gets out of BC, comes into the NHL. Same goes for Frank Nazar. Same kind of situation. He's point per game with the National Team Development Program. I had his stats up. I just want to check one thing on him. If you guys just don't mind real quick. Frank Nazar. And he's going to Michigan. He's from Michigan. He's going to Michigan next year. Michigan kid. Played with all the popular AAA teams up in the Detroit area, Honey Baked and Little Caesars to name 2. U.S. National Team Development Program, over a point per game. He had himself a nice good U18 World Championship. So I'm curious to see where he winds up too. With BC, a lot of those guys stay there for 2 years. With Michigan, I don't know. He may stay all 4. He may stay for just 1. I don't know. We have to see how his college season is this year. But he may be another one when he comes up. No matter where he goes, that everyone's going to be saying the same thing. This guy is a pleasant surprise. We're happy we took him. So just those two guys playing in the National Team Development Program.
Yeah, Cutter Gauthier could actually end up proving to be a really, really good pick wherever he goes in this draft. He's been a player who's been on the rise over the past year as well. To me, a player that I think is worth watching is Ivan Miroshnichenko, and he's an inspirational story in a lot of ways. He's had a rough year in general. He was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma earlier in this year, and he has battled and overcome it. And he has made it out the other side perfectly well. And he is a player that is going to be very interesting to watch. And not enough people are talking as much about him. And I don't think that's necessarily fair. I think a lot of people are kind of scared by his decision making on the ice and how that translates to the NHL level. But what I also see in him is I see a lot of speed. I see a very good shot, and he plays with tenacity. He plays with an edge, and he's got a pro frame already. He's got a good size to him. He's 6'1", 185, shoots from the right side, being a left winger. And he plays at a high level already. And I think his game is going to translate very well to the NHL game. And there's always the question mark when it comes to Russian players, given the past couple of years with potential failed projects. I mean, Nikita Gusev being the one player who a lot of people think of when you hear a left winger shooting from the right side from in recent memory. But I think in Ivan Miroshnichenko's case, he's a little bit different. And the biggest plus side is he's a teachable player, only 18 years old, and he's a player that I think can come into the game with very clear power play upside and be able to quarterback a power play in a few years to come. So any team that drafts him in the middle of that first round or near the bottom of that first round is going to be very happy with what they selected ultimately. He's a player in my mind to watch over the next few years. Hopefully, I'm not screwing myself by saying that, but we'll just have to see. All right, we're winding down on this episode here. Hopefully, you guys are getting ready for the first round of the NHL draft as well. Hopefully, you guys are ready for that once it starts on Thursday, July 7th. And it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Unfortunately, we can't come to you guys live this year. We wish we could. We've just got a couple other things going on this year that prevent Tom and I from being able to live stream it. But we promise you this. We are going to be coming back with another episode very, very soon, reacting to the first round in terms of our thoughts from the first round, trades that happened, and other moves and shaken all around. So you don't want to miss that. Make sure you hit the bell notification down below so that way you are in the loop on when we post that video. But our question of the day here is very simple, and that is, who goes number one overall? Tom, let's round it out here today. Who goes number one overall to the Montreal Canadiens?
Plain and simple, Shane Wright. Always feel that it's better to build around a center if you have that chance. People could make a case for Bedard next year. That's very, very true. And they could very well draft Connor Bedard next year if they luck into that number one overall pick again. But you know what? You don't know if that's going to happen. You have a center right here, right now. You know, a lot of people are saying he might not be the Nathan McKinnon type. He might not be the Connor McDavid type, Austin Matthews type, Sidney Crosby type. But I still always feel if you have a number one overall pick and you have a center there, I always feel that it's better to go for a center to build around. So I got to go with Shane Wright.
And honestly, Shane Wright is the safest pick. I think it is very likely for Shane Wright to go number one overall. But I said it before and I'll say it again. Juraj Slafkovsky is very enticing for a Montreal team desperate for size on the wing to pair with either Nick Suzuki or Cole Caulfield or both. And that's why it's the only reason why I have Juraj Slafkovsky going number one overall on my mock draft. So I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to say Juraj Slafkovsky, and I know that that's a hot take. That's going to prove to be a cold take because we all know Shane Wright's probably going number one overall. Right? Maybe. But we'll see. But what do you guys think down below? Let us know what you guys think. Drop a comment. And if you like what we talked about today, make sure you drop a like as well. We would really appreciate that. Hit the bell notification and subscribe so that way you know when we post. Because, hey, if you found this video, you want to find more, hit the bell notification so that way you know when we go live and when we hit you with a new video. And if you want to find our content elsewhere besides YouTube, you can hit up idsports.com. Check out all of our content there: NHL, NFL, MLS, NCAA football, NBA, and wrestling content there. And hey, maybe get yourself a t-shirt like this while you're there. There are also a ton of other designs there. And there are also other cool goodies. There's hoodies, there's polos, there's stickers, there's anything that you can think of. It is probably there. So make sure you hit up our shop, get yourself a t-shirt as low as $8. And if you're on Twitter, make sure you follow us down below at I80_sports NHL. And if you follow us already, thank you guys so much, because we greatly value all of your support. But with that being said, it's time to focus our attention towards the first round of the NHL draft. Thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully we gave you a good guide for the first round in this NHL draft. And hey, let us know down below what you guys thought. What do you want your favorite team to do in the first round of the NHL draft? Do you want them to trade? Do you want them to pick? And who do you want them to pick? Comment down below. Let us know. And until then, until our review episode, I'm Brian. He's Tom. This has been our NHL 2022 mock draft, only here at I80 Sports.